I'm going to tell you guys about Linda. I'm telling you about Linda because actually Linda's story actually isn't so different than my story. She was working for an export company. The export company shipped coffee, tea, French beans to markets around the world. Linda started noticing two things. One, Linda noticed the export market was becoming increasingly difficult for her smallholder contract farmers to compete in. She also noticed that like most other Kenyans, she was finding her food costs for the food she was putting in front of her daughter's plate was rising. She decided to go do some research. Why were her food costs rising so much? What she found is that Kenyans were spending 55% of their money on food. And actually 93% of that food was actually being sold in local stalls and kiosks on the street, not in supermarkets. So Linda takes her expertise and she starts off trying to do what everyone else does. She hires a broker. That broker goes around from farms and he collects tomatoes, he collects bananas, they bring it to the market. Linda realizes that actually she has a hard time making any money doing this. Why? Because the produce, by the time it gets to her, comes in so damaged that her food losses are really high, 30 to 40%. And she starts working in a similar manner as what she did with the export industry, where she goes to some of her contract farmers and she actually asked them to start doing contract farming for local produce. Actually, what she found is, for instance, for bananas, a farmer could actually, when she did the math with them, a farmer can actually make twice as much money an acre selling bananas to the local market as they can doing coffee right now. So she gets some groups. They start aggregating their produce to a collection center. So it's a medium scale farmers. It's also smallholder farmers. With that relationship, she starts doing something different. She starts introducing plastic crates. She starts introducing some shared transport to the collection centers. The reason for the shared transport to the collection centers is otherwise a lot of the smallholder farmers would just be happy selling to a broker that came to their farm gate, actually at a much lower price. So from the aggregate center, she's now distributing and she's taking it to Nairobi. She goes around and she starts collecting orders from all the street stalls. She looked and said, how does Coca-Cola actually go about getting their product out to everyone else? Why can't we do the same with fruit? She has a lot of contacts from when she was doing the export company, so she starts engaging with NGOs to help on training. With the government, she starts working on ways to allow people who have idle land upcountry to begin maybe collecting that together if they want to and come under kind of a joint farm management, and that's one way of increasing production. Basically, Linda finds out there's a $1.5 billion industry in Kenya for local produce, and the demand is a lot higher than actually what farmers are producing. Some people help on training. She gets some organizations to come in and help with farmer training. These are very easy to do because she's able to show that these farmers have a market if they're able to meet her standards. Because one thing very important for Linda is that her produce is actually handled properly. If she has the losses that most people have in the local market, actually her business doesn't work. So she needs these trainings on the post-harvest loss improving technology. She also starts marketing her produce. She realizes that if she wants to build an actual produce company, it's best to do it under a brand. The collection centers, these also can become processing centers depending on the produce. Some things you need to process, some just you need to collect and store. It's a set place where farmers know that, let's say, every other Monday, Linda's lorry is coming by to collect this, let's say, bananas one day, and the next day maybe it's mangoes. So they know where to bring it, and it formalizes the market in a way, and farmers are getting actually better prices than what they were getting just selling at their farm gate. Because of this, Linda's actually able to sell to the local kiosk women at the same price they would have to go all the way to the wholesale market to actually buy their produce at. She invests in some plastic crates. The plastic crates are really important to her preserving all the food that she's investing in. So it's an investment, but she makes her returns back by reducing and eliminating the waste. So the farmers have the plastic crates. They bring the produce using a shared transport system into the aggregation center. From there, Linda picks it up. Linda brings it to a central location. Eventually becomes a large warehouse in Nairobi, and Linda starts distributing. She starts getting the small tuk-tuks that use almost no petrol, and they're able to actually carry 40 crates at a time, and they're literally just dropping orders. She basically decides to do pretty much exactly how Coca-Cola and some of the other companies that have figured out the local market distribution is doing it. She moves originally just from one or two commodities and in a central area, and then she starts this basically her business starts growing into new areas where she's buying from, into new produce. She starts expanding. Her goal is actually, to move into the 10 to 20 most commonly bought food items on a Kenyan plate, and to keep expanding her business like this. Linda's actually quite ambitious, and she just doesn't want to make some money supplying here and there. She actually wants to start consolidating and formalizing what was a completely fragmented produce market in Kenya. Her stalls start being branded. You start seeing Linda's branding showing up on stalls across Nairobi. Then you start seeing it in Mombasa, then in Kisumu. She also, in some cases, she starts processing some foods, actually some canned tomatoes, some other items like that for value add, and those are also branded. So Linda is growing a business. Farmers are realizing that their produce, they can put their farm under contract just like they would for export crops. Only actually the local market's a lot more reliable. They don't have to worry about regulatory issues, raising tariffs, global price fluctuations. The local market has some variation, but not nearly as much. Meanwhile, because Linda's actually right there, and because of all the support that people are giving her farmers that are under her contract, they're actually really they're increasing their yields. They know exactly who is going to buy from them, so they're able to invest more in their farms. And what you start seeing around Kenya is actually start seeing a lot of land that wasn't used very productively, all of a sudden start to be used a lot more productively. Over the long run, Linda's company grows quite a bit. The farmers are benefiting. They're getting less because they're handling their produce better, and because their yields are going up. They're making more money an acre than what they used to. Also, they have a lot more market. They have a lot more commodities actually that they're able to grow because the local market is actually a lot more flexible in terms of the different crops and the wide range than what they were previously used to with just contract farming for exporters. Meanwhile, consumers in Nairobi, to start with, they start seeing their own food prices start to go down. Yields are going up. The money that was previously being lost to post-harvest loss is actually going down. The women who no longer have to pay for transport and the transactional cost of all the way going to a wholesale market are now just able to sell directly to consumers. Also, the produce comes in better quality and it lasts longer once they buy it. So because it doesn't have a dent and rot, it doesn't rot within one day. She's able to invest more into other post-harvest loss technologies, which then goes down to her farmers. So over time, Linda basically, she's increasing production. The food costs are going down actually for consumers, and she's managed to start to formalize a market that previously was not formalized and was actually, by not being formalized, it was creating a situation whereby farmers weren't really investing in their produce, and also the produce was treating so terribly on the road that the food loss was really quite high. So Linda doesn't plan on stopping in Kenya, of course, because Linda's quite ambitious. I don't plan on stopping in Kenya either, so that's my story.